Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Thick.
I've bidden a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. I'm Spencer Israel, as always, joined by Joel Elconin and Dennis Thick. On the show today, the theme of the day will probably be guidance. We have a lot of guidance coming through this morning. Target, Urban Outfitters, AEO, Apache Express, Allergan all had guidance in various forms yesterday or this morning. So we'll talk about that, and that'll be the theme of the show. Our guest today, because it's Tuesday, is Nick Chahine, author of Create Income with Option Spreads on the MarketFi platform. Joel, how's it going this morning in the S&Ps?
We're in the green as usual, up $1.75, 27.49, 2 ticks away. That's your pre-market high. That's your new all-time high. On the downside, we got to 42.75. That was late last night, so we'll look for that for any continued downward momentum. Monday's intraday low down at 36.50. Crude back above $62, trading up 37 cents at 62.10. Taking a look at the daily crude chart, looking pretty good. Spiked to 62.56, but trading above 62. Gold and silver in the red. Gold in the red by 5.20 at 13.15.20, and silver in the red by 8 cents at 17.06. And Bitcoin, little volatile yesterday. We are trading at 14,645. Big trading action in the cryptocurrencies yesterday. Good volatility. Let's take a look at the SIBO contract, and we can see that it's come off its low and getting a little bit of volume coming in there. Dennis, how you doing here on this slippery Tuesday morning?
Slippery? Why is it slippery?
Oh, because it
the thaw?
Yeah, it thawed last night, and then it dipped under 32 last night, and on my way in on the lodge today, I saw.
Were you slipping around, slipping inside?
I went a little bit slower. Because I saw like 4.
You went slow?
Yeah.
You don't go slow, do you?
I do. I wasn't in the passing lane. There were 4, 5, 6 different people off the road. So it was definitely slick. But let's look at the markets here. A lot of guidance out, huh? I guess analysts came out and decided to.
Well, that's the companies. It wasn't the analysts. It was the companies that were themselves that were coming out with a lot of guidance. So we're going to jump into that right now. Last night, we heard from Urban Outfitters, and it wasn't good. Stock started getting beat up. Then we heard from American Eagle Outfitters. It wasn't great either, and the stock started getting beat up. But then this morning, well, I guess we had Express. We can say it didn't have good guidance either. But then this morning, we got Target. And Target's back in the trend. Target had some nice numbers. Spencer, give us the details. Let's start with Target.
Target are raising their Q4 EPS guidance by 25 cents. It was $1.05 to $1.25. Now they're going to be between $1.30 and $1.40. So a 25-cent increase on the low end of that range. It's still 10 cents higher than the estimate. They're also raising their fiscal year EPS guidance. Fiscal year 17 EPS guidance, that is, and their fiscal year 18 EPS guidance came in higher than the estimate. So everything good across the board.
And TGT trading up a couple more bucks here in the pre-market. You want to talk about stocks that have performed well so far in 2018? This is another one of them. Well, I guess you can't really say it's performed okay. Today's rally helps here, but it's been climbing back. I mean, November, we were down here at $54. Now we're $69 on Target. You start thinking about the big whole number, a psychological number of $70. If you go out to the weeklies, you can see the level that I'm talking about there. It struggled there in 2016 to get back over it, finally got over it, came back down through it, then it struggled again, and then it broke down through it in early 2017. We've never been back there since. So here we are 1 year later, going to retest potentially today that critical $70 level.
It sure looks like we're poised to do that. We are a buck off that level now. 90 cents is 69.10, up a buck 92. You got up to 70.23, and then sellers said, we're going to let some stock go here at 70. 70 is a psychological number, as Dennis mentioned here. So we'll see where the paper is. Looking at the longer term chart, I haven't been up in 70 since early 17. So keep it. And even if you got over 70 to 70.23, that was the pre-market high. I expect to see some sellers. First time we've been up here in a long time.
Jump over to Urban Outfitters because it is one that reported poor guidance last night. But coming back from the lows, Spencer, give us the details on URBN.
Yep. Year over year, same store sales were down 1% for Urban, although specifically holiday sales were up 3.6%. So I guess that's better than the overall number, though, was bad. It was down 1%.
The stock went under $30 last night, so we got hit fairly hard on it. I actually played it long once, and then it shook me out, and then eventually it took a while. It didn't just come right back. It kind of hung out in the 30 handle for a long time. And now we're up here at 32. So we've gotten a lot of the losses back. I was buying the dip last night because I just felt like these, retailers, we already saw it once happen with Macy's when it got hit pretty hard and they came in buying the dip. And it seems like that's what they're doing when they do get a pullback on some of these retailers. They do, unless you're a really poor retailer. L Brands had really bad numbers. So I guess it was the other way. It didn't bounce back. But I thought they might bounce URBN. They did. Unfortunately, I got shaken out before that, though.
How were pizza sales?
Huh?
Pizza sales. Didn't Urban buy a pizza joint in
Yeah,
Philadelphia?
they bought that pizza restaurant like 3 years ago.
That wasn't 3 years ago, Spencer.
It was.
It wasn't. You haven't been doing the show with me for 3 years.
It was in 2015. Maybe It was in the fall, but it was 2015.
Okay. All right. We'll have Spencer check that.
The pizza joint. Just not that great. Joel, technical levels here. How low did we get last night?
28.85.
Wow, it got crazy. So, okay, that's your fifth. Look at, you've had a run from 24, let's call it up to 30, just 3 days ago, up to $36. You get a 12-point run on $24 stock, 50% move in basically a month and a half. Huge move for URBN, a stock that's, was completely out of favor before that. And now, you get this numbers and boom, all of a sudden, just overnight, giving back half of that move. The buy the dippers came in and the people who were caught short this thing came in as well. And that's not surprising. Stock up at 32. I don't know what to say here.
Yeah, it's
32
tough.
is a big level, but it's been crawling its way back, so it's tough.
Yeah, that 28.85 low coincides with your November 22nd low at 28.69, but we're not going to see that again. I really don't think, coming a couple bucks after that low. Shorts have been stepping up their bids ever since there. I mean, I look at 30.50, and that's still $1.50 away. Let's look at yesterday's range. You need to get to 33.64 to fill the gap. The close was right there at 33.74. So I don't know. I'd use your half and whole numbers if you're short and you want to cover on this thing. To me, that 30.5 looks like a good point. We can fall another $1.50. On the upside, who knows where this thing? I mean, look what Lulu did yesterday. Lulu was all over the place. So if you get back into the 33 handle, just be aware that there were 3 lows at the 33.60 to 80 area. So that's going to be your resistance for a little bit moving forward.
Let's jump away from the retailers for a minute here and just go over to Allergan because they had earnings. And we know we got that JPM healthcare conference going on. So there's been lots of news coming from there. Allergan had some guidance coming out of there, Spencer, AGN. Give us that, and then we'll break down the technicals.
Our preliminary fiscal year 18 adjusted EPS will be greater than or equal to $15.25 versus a $15.80 estimate. Sales at between 15 to 15.3 billion, which is just under the $15.6 billion estimate. So they missed, or I should say that the guidance came in lower than expected for the sales and the EPS for the fiscal year.
Talk about the after hours action. This thing got hit pretty good, but then it was on the comeback trail.
Yeah, you did had a quick spike. I mean, you had to have your bids out there. You couldn't in the blink. 166.50. That was your pre-market low, almost 10,000 shares traded. That's way above the low of the move at 380, but you caught a bid right away. You're coming back. Can't make much out of this pre-market chart here, but just the daily, it looks like this thing is winding up here. 173. I know we're $4 away from that, but that's your big level. 3 out of the last 4 highs are right around 173. So I think shorts are going to be comfortable as long as it's under 173. Above 173, you get a rally. Pre-market low would be a good target too. That was in the 166 handle at 166.50.
That's a good point, just to look. And a lot of times what I find myself doing is, looking for these setups and maybe striking early. And sometimes it's just better when you don't know if it's going to break out. Sometimes it's better to wait for the breakout. And obviously I own this in my investment portfolio, completely different story than the trading side. I own an investment portfolio because I'm making $15 a share. I'm a value investor. There's a lot of value in Allergan. That being said, as a technical trader here, I think you got to wait. If this thing can shrug off the bad news today and start getting above the high from yesterday, which is 173.26, then it gets interesting. And then you think it can make another shot for 180. So I think, you got to wait, though, until you actually see the breakout, because, here we've got guidance is not great. It's a little bit lower, but again, they kind of shrugged it off last night. Again, this is a stock that they didn't expect much from. So it's not like, whoa, Allergan's, not going to hit their numbers. I mean, Allergan hasn't been hitting their numbers. That's why it's been in the doghouse. So let's see what it does. See what it does in the regular session. Let's see if it can get above that 173 level that you were talking about, Joel. Get above there, then it gets interesting.
What's the PE on that?
Well, $15, $170 stock. So I don't know, was it 12?
10, 12?
11?
Yeah.
You're better with the air math than I am.
11.5.
You won that grade 6 math competition.
It was 3rd grade, not 6th grade.
Oh, 3rd grade. Or did the one girl beat you? I thought the one girl beat you.
She cheated now.
She cheated to beat you. Because there's no way she could beat you straight up.
And I demanded,
not math.
And then the teacher made us both do it again, and she did terrible. So.
You smoked her. How does she cheat? What does she do to cheat?
You had to do 20 math problems in 30 seconds, multiplications. And you're not supposed to start until you flip the paper over, but she flipped it over first.
Starting early. She jumped the gun on you.
Peggy Bratcher was her name.
He throws the name out. She listens to the show. She's got to sue you for defamation of character.
All right, let's get a little chuckle in here this morning.
All right, moving on. STX story from yesterday. I wanted to talk about this yesterday on the show. Obviously, I had sick kids, so I didn't get a chance to get on the show. But STX, Seagate Technology, possibly owns 4% of Ripple from a Seeking Alpha article, and the stock pops from $43 to $50 in the pre-market. I saw it ticking up there near $50, like $49.90 or something. So this is got to be one of the most ridiculous moves I've seen. I mean, Seagate, stock that has been coming back, was a dog for 90% of last year, but came back in the final quarter. But here we are. They might own 4% of Ripple from a Seeking Alpha article, and the stock goes up like 20% on it. Come on.
It got up to 49.70. It had a higher open, 48.78.
So silly.
Yeah. So if you were shorting that open, you were like scratching your head. At got to 50.75 in pre-market trade. But once it came back down through that open, boy, that was a heatless short. Made a low at 45.62, closed at 46 even, trading up 36 cents. I mean, if it holds this gap area, if it holds a 45.62 low, we're poised to go north here. If not, you got about a $2.5 dump down to 42.99. Several highs at the 43 area. So if I was looking to, buy this a little bit on the cheap, I'd wait for it to come into the $43 area. Big spike in volume here. Huge spike in volume.
Ripple. Oh, yeah. They own 4% of a cryptocurrency. So it's crazy. Got to spike 20%, doesn't it?
It's crazy when 2 analysts come out midday with comments. Susquehanna.
What did they say?
Susquehanna came out cautious at around 10:30 or a little after 10 a.m. Susquehanna came out cautious on CA. They said they don't view the Ripple investment as a material upside driver, given it's an equity investment and not token ownership. And then Cowen came out about an hour later and said that Seagate's minority position in Ripple could be worth around $2 billion on paper, but they're maintaining their rating due to the volatility of cryptocurrencies in general, and believe a high degree of conservatism is warranted. So those two both came out midday. Then we also had guidance after the bell. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, this is where we were going to. We had a lot of guidance after the bell, so they are guiding higher here. Spencer, details.
Yeah, Q2 sales $2.9 billion versus a $2.74 billion estimate. So guidance higher than expected for Q2 sales.
I don't know. I think you got to think about the 50 bogey now. It got up to 49.70. So if for whatever reason it gets silly, there's major resistance up there. You're kind of in the middle of nowhere here, 46.65. Like from a technical basis, if you fall below yesterday's low of 45.62, then you got a gap to fill. So it's got to hold that low. If you're trading it just technically, I mean, I use yesterday's range maybe it chops around. Maybe for some reason you get a seller in the morning or you get a buyer and it gets up to the yesterday's high or down to yesterday's low.
No.
That's where I would be playing it. In the middle of the range, though, it's hard to play this.
As long as it stays green, you can try it from the long side here. But once you go red, you're trading up by 85 cents. I just think if you do, do spike up like that, I don't think you get to yesterday's high. I think there are too many people, especially like a big volume day like that. There are people
that was upside capitulation.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there's going to be, sellers here on a rally in Seagate Technology.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about downside capitulation when everybody washes out. That's the big down move and that's the bottom. Well, it's so often you have a stock trending down and boom. Well, I've always said there's upside capitulation too. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, but it's something I talk about lots of times on the show. When stocks going up, and then boom, you get the huge spike on the huge volume. That's like when every short gets the hell out and when every long says I gotta get in. And that's often the short-term top. And that's what we saw yesterday in the spike in volume. And headline is ridiculous, too. When you get the ridiculous headline on it all, that they might own 4% of Ripple, I just think that's, you know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I almost swapped out my Western Digital for Seagate.
That would have been huge.
That would have just been,
you're a genius. We're just put your picture on the wall and just look at it every day and all.
But no, because you always think stocks are going to play catch up here, and that spread. I don't know. Does Rob have anybody trained in that STX Western Digital spread? Because man, that thing got out to what, $50 maybe, and now what's it into like 30? So that's been a nice spread. But I'd wait till the $43 area to come back and Seagate. Too high for me to chase up here.
Target is challenging the $70 level right now. It just hit it in the pre-market. Yeah.
Wow.
So $70 right there right now. 9,500 shares just trade at 70. There's still another 95 to go here. That's your level. So we gave you $1 already here on the show. We said we're probably going to challenge it. Not even 10 minutes later, it is challenging it here. So $69.99 is the offer. $69.91, $70. It's a big level.
Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye on that. So I'm sure some institutions want to be dumping there.
Well, we'll see. It looks like there's at least one institution want to be dumping there because it looks pretty heavy here in the pre-market trading, but there's also iceberg bidding, so it's trying to take it out. We will see what happens during the regular session. Jump over here to some ratings because there's some interesting ones here today as well. I'm going to jump right to the first one on my list. It's FedEx, FDX. That is getting an upgrade to buy at UBS. They are raising their price target up to $302. Boom. Stock has just been an absolute monster. It's one that I regretted selling in the 170 handle in my invest portfolio. Here it is 100 points later at 270. This raging bull continues for FedEx.
FedEx here trading up in the pre-market. Did they just come out with some bang up numbers here? Now they're trading up again, 270 even. All-time high was 271.39, folks. That's one number and only one for you, 271.39. That was your high on Friday.
Just the other one I want to talk about, obviously UPS moves along with it, and it's been on a monster move here in 2018 as well. Well, actually, I guess it started with the Santa Claus route. No, you could say 2018 because first day we're at 120. It's up $10 in 2018. UPS typically moves like, that's like a 9% or 8-9% move in UPS. Look at the longer term chart of this. This thing moves $10. It usually take months 6 months sometimes. Here it is in 4 days. Or, I guess we're at 8 days now, moving up $10. What are your thoughts? UPS is a huge move.
I mean, what are you going to do? 130? I mean, I'll give you that as a target. You hit the all-time high from yesterday at 129.52. You're trading right there right now. So you are opening to just a tad of resistance here. A couple thousand shares have traded, but you got to think about, the half and whole numbers here. 130. Now it's never been up there before. Did you have this thing at like 95 or 100 or something? And you guys shaking
FedEx. Oh, I had them both.
Oh,
I had
okay.
FedEx and UPS because online shopping, I like them. These are the companies that are delivering all these online packages. I had them both. I had UPS for a long time. And then for some reason, I sold it out at like 105. And obviously that was a regret. The FedEx I sold out because I bought it at 90 and it went up to like 175 or something. It was just a big move in 2 years. I was like, you know what? You double your money in 2 years, at least almost double your money in 2 years. I felt like the valuation was getting stretched at 170 and I sold it. You know when it was? It was probably actually when that big consolidation period between 200 and 180. That's probably when I sold. I can't remember exactly. Earlier 2017, maybe late 2016. But here it is. It was a hell of a year for stocks and attacked on another 100 points. So valuations can get stretched. It doesn't mean they're going to stop going up.
I want to give a quick shout out here to Josh. I'm talking to him live through the Google chat, and he's listening to us, Dennis. He's driving through Texas on his way to New Orleans, and he's listening to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. What do you think about that? Josh, you better not be driving and texting. That's the only thing I have to say.
And we have a rule.
Driving and listening to our show is fine, though.
We also have a rule: no driving and trading. So make sure you're not doing that.
Yeah, Dennis, that's what you
just like
do.
no doing a radio show and trading.
You got to do the show in your car and trade. That's what you got to do. That would be a great feat.
No, that's how we get in an accident. So we do not promote that.
All right, S&P's hanging up here at the highs of the session, up $1.75 at 48.50. Are we done with the?
We got an alert here from Spinner, and he's saying Jeff Bezos has just officially passed once again. He passed him last year one time, but he's passed Gates and Buffett in net worth. But did he pass the Ripple guy? Or Ripple came off. Ripple came off like 25%, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It had a little dip under $2, and then it came back. And Josh says he's also drinking coffee while driving through Texas.
Does it all. Josh is amazing. 1170 to 1250 in 8 trading days for Amazon. You could say, here is. I guess bang just continues. I mean, we haven't really looked at it too much. It's been an amazing 2018 thus far. But Facebook straight up in 2018, Amazon straight up in 2018. Netflix has been a monster stock in 2018. Look at this one. It started the year down $195 at 212. And then Google. I own a Google in my invest portfolio, and it's been okay in 2018 as well, going from 1045 or 1050 up to 1106. These stocks are all up 10%. We're 9 days into the year. This is like, you think 10% is usually a good year for your stock. It's 9 days. This year's been phenomenal so far. Wow, crazy.
And it's all because of Trump and everything he's done.
If the market's going down, it's not Trump's fault, though. But if it goes up, then Trump will let you know it's all because of him.
I just want to make a quick point here, going back to the Amazon and the UPS and even the Target for that matter. Wasn't Amazon gonna get their own airlines and put these companies out of business? Remember that news that you had? This was probably back in last year.
What was the news? Amazon
they were gonna they're buying airplanes. I think they do have airplanes, but they were gonna get into delivering their own packages. And I can't.
Well, remember. That was drones.
Yeah,
that was no. I don't know from like full service commercial airliners. Is that what you're talking about?
I think you're referring to last January when they said they're building a $1.5 billion hub for their own cargo airline. That's what I think.
Yeah, they hit those stocks.
I don't know what came of that. I don't know if anything.
FedEx UPS got hit once on it though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
it's another reason I sold FedEx too, because I kept thinking, eventually Amazon's going to start delivering all their own packages, and that's not going to be good for Amazon or for FedEx. Well, I was way too early on that call because FedEx went up another $100.
And what about Kroger when that got decimated, right?
Costco. Costco was the classic one. I mean, Whole Foods, oh, they're coming for Costco. And we watched Costco fall, what was it, 30 points here in like a couple of weeks. Costco, one of your best retailers, premier retailers, and then it got it all back. Walmart, too. Walmart got hit on that, too. Walmart, you can see it on the day. You can go back to the charts and you can actually see the candle. It's an ugly candle. Walmart, June 16th, went from $80 down to $73. It was the day Whole Foods got bought by Amazon. They're like, oh, they're coming for Walmart, too. Well, that was the bottom. And Walmart's been straight up since too. So Amazon can keep coming after a lot of companies. I'm not putting everybody out of business.
Yeah, they finally took out those sellers at 100 in Walmart. I didn't notice that.
That's breakout. Yeah, that's on a full breakout here. We did mention, I think, on the show, the 100 is gone. They took out that big seller. That's in full breakout mode here. It's up again this morning. That's how they're obviously on the back, piggybacking off a Target here. Target is now through $70 here in the pre-market. Although I'll tell you, take that with a grain of salt, because in the pre-market, I would imagine there's going to be some regular session volume there too. So it needs to take it out in the regular session to actually take it out. So, because if I go to the book right now on Target, I can't see that far. Oh, yeah, maybe I can. 42,000 shares so far. So there's 30,000 in the New York book. This liquidity does not become active until 9:30, meaning these are orders that are going to come in at 9:30. $69.95, 30,000 shares, $70, 42,000 shares. Now Target is trading so much volume, already traded 424,000 shares, can probably blow through anything. But if you're thinking about big levels, $70 is still a very big level for TGT.
Jack Daniel in the YouTube chat has mentioned Home Depot too. That that they but we always talked about that one, that Home Depot's a little bit different, because if you like Jack's saying here, like, I'm going to order sheet, building supplies. Those builders, they want it. They got to go to the store. They got to get it. They got to get it done that day. But not sure if Home Depot took as much hit. But there's another stock hit all-time high yesterday, 193.72, but closed a little bit weak near the lows of the session.
Back to ratings when we went on our huge tangent from FedEx. We got a couple other interesting ones here too. Go back to the retailers for a second. You got Under Armour getting downgraded at Susquehanna to negative. They are putting an $11 price target on this $15 stock. So Susquehanna, not a buyer of the recent UAA rally. You can pick your poison. There's two symbols out there. Both are actively traded, UAA and UA. Let's go with the UAA here. It's got the higher price. It's trading at $15.98. Thoughts here? We're down 3% on the downgrade from Susquehanna here. You a buyer of the pullback?
Yeah, why? This one was no, man. Susquehanna, get that analyst online right now.
Like Susquehanna. Remember, we always did business. Bright did some business with Susquehanna back in the day. These guys were great.
Yeah, we won't talk about that though, Dennis. On the show.
We won't talk about the Susquehanna.
we won't.
It's good.
We always.
I like the Susquehanna people.
We always got really nice Christmas gifts and baskets in the Bright.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I don't see how we missed this laggard rally here in UAA, right? We talked about this thing at 13 and a half when all the other retailers were getting off the mat, came and filled the gap, traded down 50 cents here. 59 cents at 16.39. I mean, am I going to hop out and buy this thing today? I don't know, but I'll tell you, you get any kind of 50% retracement here. What did you have? A $6 move here, $5. Let's call it a $6 move. Take three. I don't know. You get this thing anywhere in a lower 14 handle. I think I'd love to see this thing on a 50% retracement. I'm not going with this downgrade. This thing has got a lot of catching up to do on a relative basis. All-time high, 54.70. Spencer, did you I know you had your one buddy dipping his toe in the water on 19. Did he yeah,
he's out. He's no longer in, I would say. I know.
It's a tough thing, and I still do it too. When stocks are going straight down, wait until they start to get into an uptrend. Wait until you got a reason to come in. Don't try to catch the falling knife, is what I've learned in my 19-year professional trading career. Because when you try to catch that stock that's going straight down, saying it's just too cheap, I'm buying it here, they stay out of favor for a long time, especially in this market. This is the momentum market. Stocks stay out of favor for a long time, so they stay out. So you got to just almost hold off on your wanting to buy the stock. There's going to be maybe an opportunity when the stock is actually trending up. I mean, think about VRX. Here's Valiant Pharmaceutical went from 100, and obviously I had other issues too, but from $250, and it, was in the doghouse forever. Finally starts to, break out of that downtrend and finally starts to go up. Just, the middle, just recently November, and now it's caught a bit. But that's the one consideration here is when you're trying to catch them going down, it's a hard gig. It's better to try to get them once they start an uptrend.
Yeah, and boy, it's taken a while. It's really gotten off the mat, and so is Teva. I mean, these stocks have come back a little bit. Long ways to go here, but Teva chart looks interesting. But Dennis, 8:30. Any no? How many? Well, just tell us about the buying balances.
There's a few. GE small buying balance is smaller than it was the last couple of days. Maybe why people are coming in and selling it right now. It's still 290,000 to buy, but not the million that we've been seeing every day. I was speculating. I'm long GE overnight, so I was speculating it might be a big buying balance too, but not as big as normally is. Bank of America 131,000 to sell. Twitter 40,000 to sell here this morning. Square has been a hell of a stock here in 2018 as well. It is, up significantly here in the last 4 trading sessions. It's got 152,000 to sell. So Square is showing some weakness here this morning as well. Just looking at my blockchain filter, you got multiple headlines here. VMNT, I think that's a bulletin board stock. It's got some, and also TFVR. And then Riot has a headline too. Riot Blockchain establishes Digital Green Energy Corporation. Right now, that headline just broke at 8:30, and Riot RIOT is trading up about 70 cents on that headline.
Give me that Twitter imbalance, Dennis.
40,000 to sell.
Now look at this; it's up at the
It's
high.
going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 40,000, not much for Twitter. So
Okay.
It's already traded 60,000 the pre-market. And sometimes you get an opportunity. Sometimes, a sell and balance could come in, maybe a stock that's trending higher in the pre-market, sometimes flips to a sell and balance at the last second, sometimes gets you a chance to buy the stock on the cheap. So, it's one thing that Twitter looks good. I like Twitter for a breakout here. And I think, you were going to say the same thing.
I nibbled on it yesterday, just because of this formation here. I love this formation. And the thing I was a little bit hesitant yesterday because it had already had a 23.88 low. So when it did get to that breakout point, it was 70, 60, 70 cent already out of its range. But I just thought, Dennis and his 2-day move here, I see a clear path up here into the 25 handle.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah. Let's see if Twitter can get to that high at 25.27. We have 2 minutes here before we bring Nick on, and I just want to cover a few stocks here in the chat. I can't feel my Facebook. He's still holding CNET. Anybody else think it's got a second run left in the tank? His target is $8. CNET, is that a
that was one of those blockchain plays that held on to the gains for quite a few days. So this was one in the pre-market I can remember even saying, I think it went from like it was up at like $6, and I was like, I think this thing is back down within a few days, but it kept flying. It went up to 11.90, and the next day came in a little bit. Now it's coming a little bit again. I don't know. I guess, it's trying to hold on. I don't want to see it fall below 505. Below 505, then it starts to get ugly there again. But these blockchain plays typically do not hold their gains, but there's always going to be an outlier. This one's held on better than some of the other ones, so that's the only thing going for you. But I typically just think these blockchain plays, eventually when the dust settles, kind of usually go back to where they came from. Sometimes takes a little while, but some of them haven't. You can look at Riot; it's still holding on to its gains to a certain extent, but it was like one of the first ones, the darlings. That changed its name from the biotech company to Riot Blockchain, and it had that big move from 10 to 20, and then it pulled back, and then it had a second big move, and obviously went up to over 40. But the trend is not your friend on that thing now. It's been coming in. If Riot ever breaks below 20, then you think it's going back to where it came from too.
ADMS here. Jar's taking a look at this one. New drug hitting the market today. Let's see if there's anything going on in the pre-market trading. Got a spike to 34.75. Let's look at the dailies after a 32.15 close. Man, it's kind of wide open. I would say your support is very well defined here. Institutions are targeting just under $32. So I kind of would let this one rip here. If it really gets into rally mode here, you do have a 4-day high. Well, let's go a 3-day high first at 35.5. Your 4-day high at 36.66. And before we call Nick, let's see if I got anything else here. Oh, Stock Hunter, Mylan Labs, MYL. I bet you that thing is rallying.
Sold it too soon.
Yeah.
And this is one. Okay, I just talked about this like 20 minutes ago on the show. And here I am 19 years and I still make the mistake sometimes about buying stocks on their way down in my invest portfolio when they just get too cheap. And Mylan Labs was an example of it. It had gotten, and if I look, I'll try to, remember where, it obviously was $76 stock back in 2015. When that thing fell under $40 or $39, I picked it up. And I actually think I got a little bit of a rally. I can't remember. It was like middle of 2016. But then it breached it and went all the way down to 30. So, you look at it and then, it came all the way back up and got up over $40 there again. I sold it. I shouldn't have sold it. So I played this all wrong. I bought it on the way down. I should have been buying it on the way up. And, you'd still be participating
real quick,
in there now. So great example.
Yep. Double top, triple top here at the $45 area. And
sell.
No, Nick, hold on.
Sell.
I think 45 is when where the stock was when the EpiPen debacle started. You checked the news. You remember that too, Dennis? Tricky
around there, yep.
Tricky Nicky, how you doing today?
Good morning.
So let's just talk about this market here, 27.50 and a quarter. But getting your daily note, market is wildly bullish. Don't step in the way. I wish I would actually implement trades based on that, Nick. But you got any kind of targets here in the S&P 500, or is it just worthless to do targets?
It is. How can you do the targets? It's just I'm waiting for clues to see where it wants to stop, if it wants to stop. But the upside potential is big just because every day you have a new story somewhere in a sector. So like this morning, I think the TLT, so bonds are down, so rates are up, so probably financials are moving, which is pretty interesting because this is the one I would focus on this week. The financials start reporting this Friday. I'm pretty sure of that. And they kind of like come in waves. And I think they're like 20-25% of market. So it's a sector to look at and consider. You can either play the financials themselves through the XLF and throw a blanket, or pick and choose which ones you want to play. But as a sector, they will move markets. Then I look at the IBB, the biotech pharma. They've had a few bad days. They're still under the thumb of Donald Trump, and the headline there is always lingering. But if they turn around, they help the NASDAQ. So you have to look at it in sectors. So it's impossible to pin the top or target. What I do know is dips are being bought, and put in quote the word dip, whatever that is. So a dip in a sector for a few days. Just a few weeks ago, maybe even last week, people were saying FANG is dead. And look at how FANG is now. It's insanely bullish. So.
All right, let's do a couple things from the chat right away. Are you still in your Alta? Someone mentioned it in the chat here. I know you were playing that one. Nice rally up to 250. Just filled the gap here when it fell back down to 230. Talk about what you did in Alta. You're still in, you're out. What are you doing?
I don't have any Alta anymore, but the way I played it is basically sold puts and put spreads into it on a bad day. I have played it before, like back in February and in July, I believe, and more recently also. But I have found August, I also played on a credit put spread. I believe that was okay. October, I did in early October. And the trades there were a credit put spread. And I share several different levels in several different ways. Somebody that wants to own the stock then can sell a naked put, provided they're able to buy it. Somebody that doesn't want to do that, want to limit the risk, they would sell a spread. And it was a $5 spread, several versions of it on several different timelines. So it depends on which one you're in. I think all of them were winners from October, beginning of October. So that's how I would play it. So if I take it, I get off it. I'm totally okay leaving money on the table, meaning if I get a lot of the maximum gains in a shorter period of time and there's still a lot of time on the trade, I tend to book it. Some people can't do that. They seem to be kind of like frozen when it takes to spending money to book a profit. For me, it's a lot easier to do. And that keeps me out of trouble. I'd rather hit at base hits than all home runs.
Nope, that's the way you've always You've always talked about it and played it here on our show. We're joined by Nick Chahine. He's the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Gives you new and unique, not new, but unique ways to play the market. Let's go to the Google chat here. GE, good to go long. What are you thinking about GE? And I got to admit, I did buy this dog here. I just made that base under 1750 here. What do you think? Is this going to be for real? The other thing I was looking at this, and not too often do I go to a monthly chart, but if we could get a green bar here for the month, and I know we still got a long way to go, we can break a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 month losing streak. Nick, your thoughts on GE?
Well, the only way to look at GE is to go to a monthly, because the daily doesn't give you many clues. So GE is a hopium play. So you have to either know the company or just hope they recover. The way I would trade it is I would ask myself, what's the downside risk? I mean, how low can it go? I don't know the intrinsic value. If 17 is it, or 16 is it, then I'm more comfortable selling puts in it. However, lottery ticket calls, which I lost money on, by the way, from last year, I sold puts to buy calls. The puts were okay. The calls were so plug your nose and give yourself some time. If you're going to give yourself 2 weeks for this to work out, either buy the shares and hang on to them, or buy some calls, but way out in time. So it's like buying the shares at a cheaper price. Only the risk is that they may actually expire and go away. But if you buy the shares, they're your shares until they're your shares unless they go to zero. So that's the way to look at it. From here, yes, it does have a lot of upsides. How much of bad news is still hidden? I don't know. I mean, somebody that flies a jet following another jet just in case is an extreme behavior. So it wouldn't surprise me that there's some other stuff in there, but if not, then it's a lottery ticket.
What time frames you got? I pulled your charts up here. What different time frames are you looking at?
Well, this is the top right is daily. The one next to it is weekly, and the monthly is down below. And for a stock that's fallen so far, you have to look at the monthly. Otherwise, you can't get a relative position to where it has been before. So I know that it's been 5 before, but that was throughout the debacle. And I think they got rid of the stuff that got them down there, which was a financial arm. So now that everybody's talking about oil, I think everybody says the same thing about GE. Oh, they bought at the top and at the absolute worst time. Well, oil is back in favor. It's over 62 crude, and I don't know what they bought as far as oil is concerned. So get educated on it, or just plug your nose and buy a lottery ticket.
All right, Ed Parker, he wants to know what you're thinking about Priceline here. I know you made some notes on it the other day. Notes on and thoughts on Priceline. S&P's new high 51 and a quarter, up 450 on the session.
Yay! Okay, so Priceline is. I'm kicking myself. A few days ago, I was like, I'm going to buy it. It's headed to 2000. And I just ran out of time. I didn't do it. So it is looking good for a breakout. If it can, I just posted, there are a few trend lines, technically speaking. It passed one. It filled the gap, I think, on a daily chart that you can't see in this one. Yeah, you can see on it. Yep. So it filled the gap in a big burst, and yesterday it was a good size move too. So if they can break that lower high trend line that's a little longer based time, you can see it on the weekly too, then it has legs to go. And I believe they report earnings in the next few weeks. I don't know exactly when, but if I wanted to play a lottery ticket, maybe I'll buy it now and see if it moves up into earnings, and then this way you can decide whether you want to cash out the lottery ticket. And by that, I mean, it's an expensive stock. So I either buy a call or buy a call spread. I wouldn't sell credit spreads into earnings because this one moves fast. So you have to be able to be disciplined to place your spreads far away. And it's very tempting to get in trouble with that one.
All right, Nick, the chat is on fire here, and I just want to try and cover these. Spinner, Nick, can you talk about the run-up in FANG names? Seems like every quarter they run them 3 to 4 weeks before earnings and then sell after the release. How do you play that?
All right, so FANG is I really dislike that because I told you what happened. It's a double-edged sword. Okay, they're like an asset class, and The problem is now they trade Amazon and Netflix. They trade Google, a quality stock like Amazon and Netflix, and they're not the same. They're definitely not the same as Netflix. Amazon is a monster. So on any given day, what are the odds in such a bullish market that all of them are going to be down? So it'd be insanity to short the collective. They are not very expensive. Google is not very expensive. Facebook, you can argue that it is or isn't, but they have over 1 billion users. How can you not think that they're going to do well in the future? Netflix is an iffy proposition long term as far as cash burn and profitability, etc., because of all of the people that are coming to compete with it. So pick your entry points. I cannot chase Amazon up here, but on dips, like on earnings, I'd say buy it with two hands, or bet on the upside with two hands, or credit put spreads, whichever way you do a bullish trade. Definitely don't short it. I mean, people want to short Amazon forever, and I don't think that meme still carries out. Now they do it in Tesla and other things like that, but they are a monster, and they are probably half of the NASDAQ if you add a couple more stocks.
Okay, we got another stock here. What do you think about the rally and ExxonMobil moving up with the price of oil? I think you had targeted the $84 area. I think we had a big breakout there. Nick, thoughts on ExxonMobil?
Yep, we had targets and it exceeded our expectations. I sold puts in it. My regret is I didn't sell enough, I guess. My puts have gone fully profitable for a long time. They're at the $70 level, let's put it that way, at least the ones that are still on my board. So I can't chase the momentum after it's developed so much, meaning I could find better entry points. There was a squeeze in the price range mid-December, just before the holidays, and it was a two-step process. The one got us to 84, and then the 84 got us up here on a longer-term cup handle, inverse head and shoulder, whatever it is. The higher lows knocking on a neckline and then breaching through the neckline, and then also oil went up, so that helps. So technicals and oil, the commodities, the dollar fell apart, which leaves room for oil to rally. So it all came together for these stocks.
Any thoughts on AT&T versus Verizon? Both these stocks have had nice runs into the dividend, now going ex-dividend here. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, AT&T, there's a clear range that I've been looking at for a long time, and it's 39 to 38, and I'll show you why. It's like two yellow bricks that I have not updated, so look to the left a little bit on AT&T, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Seems to be ping-ponging between these two levels right now. And they're an important level because it's fallen deeply below it, and it's like a pivot point of sort. So as far as it against Verizon, I had Verizon on my watch list for today to see if I can do anything with it. I prefer better entry points for Verizon just because it seemed to have run up so fast, and now it's droopy, but it's at 52. So 52 is a make or break point for the short term, whereas AT&T also has run up, but it feels like, I don't know, better entry point. I haven't decided which one I want, but I'm patient and I'm not running into either. I will look at the earnings timing as well to see which one is more conducive. I don't know exactly when they report, so I will have to look into that. But they're almost in no man's land for me.
I don't want either of them, and that's the whole reason. And long term, I do own AT&T on my investment portfolio, so I shouldn't say that. But as trades, I don't want either of them because they just went ex-dividend. And that's today. So they just went ex-dividend today. And historically, these two stocks, it's amazing as to how often they run up ahead of the dividend date for a few weeks and then sell off for a few weeks afterwards. Yeah. So if you look at Verizon, this setup is nice. I mean, you got this 52 level that has been absolutely enormous here. Now we have a price adjustment here because the adjusted close is actually 51.80 on it, but starts taking out that low, which is actually settlement for the stock because it's went ex-dividend here today, and you have to adjust for the 59-cent dividend. Just taking that out, you got to air down to 50. So I like the setup here from the short side.
So here's how I would play this. If you have
give me that way to play.
Okay, so if I have a stock in which I believe that there's value at some point, but I also think that it's going to maybe dip a couple of bucks here. So what I would do is I would sell puts around the 48, 47 for longer term, say February or March if there's no earnings, or just adjust it to where the risk is pretty acceptable and where I don't mind owning a stock, or I do a credit put spread at that point. I collect money, and with that money I'll buy a debit put spread at the money a little bit shorter in time. So if indeed your thesis comes to fruition and the stock dips, I profit from the debit put spread. Any profit I gather from selling it back out is pure profit, as long as the price doesn't fall through my credit spread that I sold.
Let's jump over to Alibaba. I know you follow this one closely as well. This has been a hell of a year for Alibaba as well. Started the year at $175. It's now 191 in the pre-market. We are challenging the all-time high here this morning. What are your thoughts here on BABA?
1221, I shared a trade. It was a debit call spread and or a credit put spread, and they were huge home runs. At this point, and let me see if I can put it in a visual. It's funny because I drew boxes, and it went through all the boxes pretty quickly. There was a clear trading range in BABA, and I said it looks like it's setting a bottom, and it wants to breach the top. And if it does, then it has a huge run, and we jumped on board. So from here, onus is on the bulls to see if they can bust through 192, but if they can, the upside is still unlimited for the short period of time here. So I would not short it just because it looks like a triple top, or it looks like it's come too far too fast, because technically speaking, it has room to go if they want it. Let's put it this way: if the market in general is going to rally, why would this one fall without a headline?
Other one I want to talk about was the main one is Tesla. It had a huge day yesterday, and just out of the blue, we rallied $20 on TSLA. Do you see more gains in the future for Tesla?
Well, I'd rather bet on downside not coming to fruition, meaning it looks like it set a bottom at 300. So I'm a premium seller below 300, and better than catching a betting on an upside in Tesla. But let me tell you one thing, that if I'm tracking a range, and I am, you can see the two solid white boxes. I don't extend them all the time because I don't update all my charts every day, but I look at them every day. And you can, I have two rectangles of somewhat limit area, upper limit, lower limit. One is at 300, one is at 370-ish. And then I have a line in between. And guess where the price is right now? It's right on the line in between. So I could take it or leave it from here. It all depends on your guts, but I'm more willing to bet on 300 than not coming. So I sell a lottery ticket under 300 to somebody rather than buy a lottery ticket above 340.
That's why we love you, Nick, because you trade so much different than everybody else. Everybody always buys or sells a stock thinking where they want to buy it because they think it's going up, or they want to sell it because they think it's going down. You look to a chart and you say where you don't think it's going, and then you write an option in that area. I mean, nobody does that. So that's why you're so much different. That's why I think you're very consistent with your trading, just the way you look at the trade, and the Tesla analysis, and saying, I don't think it's going under 300, so why not write a put under there.
This chat room is so good for my ego, I can't even tell you. Who needs coffee?
We need to start charging you, Nick. We've been on the line with Nick Chahine. He is the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. He has to go buy some new hats. That ego getting a little big. But Nick, no, we appreciate it. Good calls. And you know what? You stand up to your bad calls as well. So we'll let you go. Get ready for the open here. And we'll talk to you again next Tuesday.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
S&P's here, 51.75, up 5 points. Continually, Dennis, have you ever seen this market
it just goes up?
Just grinding higher. I mean, not letting.
How do you short it? How do you short it? I mean, it's fighting every trend in the book. Everything is breaking out. I mean, I don't know how you can short this market. Eventually, this is going to come, there's going to be a huge correction, and it's going to come out of the blue because everybody's trading on the same side. But I'm scared to short stocks. I mean, I hedge myself. I'm naked short. I haven't been trading naked short for a long time. And that's, not historically, in my 19-year trading career, I've made a lot more money shorting stocks than I have buying stocks. But I tell you right now, it's the hardest market to short stocks in. And you got to be hedged if you're not. Just flat out naked shorting stocks is just a killer. I mean, and you look at this market, and we just went through a lot of charts there. How many bearish charts are we looking at? There's not a lot of them. even some of the bearish ones like GE that have been dogs don't even look as bad as they once did. So I don't know. This is just hard to get bearish here.
Okay. All right.
Like every chart we bring up, like for the most part, it's today. Like just going through, we went through Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Those all look good. The Apple chart, we had Carter Worth last night on CNBC saying that looks great from a relative basis. It is kind of banging its head against the wall at 175. It takes out that. It looks good to the upside as well. I mean, now we did say AT&T and Verizon, and the one thing, if I was looking at short side, I do like them just because I've always played that, short after the ex-dividend date. The other thing is, stuff that's heavy dividend is going to be a little bit out of favor because we're in such a growth environment here right now. Everybody's just after growth. Nobody cares about a 5% dividend when you can get 25% in the market. So, that's a consideration here. Very hard to short stocks.
All right. Any change in imbalances here? Is the S&P?
We've grown a little bit here. Some of the banks are showing sell imbalances despite trading higher here. I always looked at the TLT because that's kind of like the real tell for me. And when we see TLT trading significantly down, it's down 75 cents here this morning. It makes me think that banks are probably going to be stronger. There's an inverse correlation between the TLT and the banks. So we see some sell imbalances there. Then I kind of lick my chops and say maybe I can get in on some of these banks on the cheap. 174,000 to sell in Bank of America, 28,000 to sell in JP Morgan, which $108 stock is significant there. So if some of the banks were open flat or just slightly up, maybe there's an opportunity there. Just jump over here. Berkshire Hathaway, BRK.B, 64,000 to buy. It's a stock we don't talk a lot about on the show. Obviously, it's been unbelievable too. All-time highs here every single day for Warren as well. And Warren's a value investor, so the value stocks are even some of them obviously performing well here in this environment. So it's been incredible here. U.S. Steel has just been a monster. And I mean, if you were buying that at $20 3.5 months ago, you've doubled your money here now. It's challenging 40, or at least challenged it yesterday. Not sure if it's going to challenge it here today or not, but it's had a hell of a run. It's been a double here in the last 5 months.
And I think it got a little bump from Gordon when he was on our show. I think this was back in December. Dennis, one question here from Echograph. On that rare occasion when you are shorting stocks, what are the criteria you look for when finding stocks to short?
Well, a number of different criteria. So obviously I look to seasonality, and obviously I look in, just to give you another thing, it's not really a seasonality play, but AT&T and Verizon, there's just a history there. I'm all about statistical arbitrage, and there's in the statistics, and you can look back at it, there's definitely strength before the ex-dividend date, weakness after. So I look to all of those different types of plays. But the biggest thing, if I'm just looking, I don't know the stock, or if I'm not trading on fundamentals, just pure technicals, I want to see the stock trending down. I want to see it break down. I want to see, I don't want to be shorting something going straight up to an uptrend because it's a difficult gig. So I want to see, maybe a reversal of trend where you've had maybe 4 or 5 up days in a row. Now we get a red candle. Now we get maybe breaking down through a key support level. I want to see something like that where I think the momentum has shifted. Right now, the momentum is up on so much stuff. It makes it so difficult to even find shorts. Like Verizon is a good setup for 2 reasons. And I am short Verizon for full disclosure. But I think it's a good setup for 2 reasons. One, because I got the ex-dividend stuff, but because I've got this 51.80, 52 level here, which we look like we're going to potentially breach here this morning. So maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit. Probably should wait until 51.70 to really put the short position on, because that's how it kind of works. If you can get the actual breakdown and break through support, then it seems to be a better play than trying to guess that it's going to break down through support. But I did jump the gun a little bit here on Verizon, but that's a nice setup. You kind of got a rounding top there. It's showing a little bit of weakness. Here we're ex-dividend here now, so you're going to have those players here who are trying to get out, scratch a stock or make a little bit, the dividend capture traders there. And I think you got to set up if it breaks down below 51.80. So I'm looking for the setup.
What is the adjusted close on that?
51.80.
Oh, okay. So
that's why I like the setup here. So if it can get, and this morning it's got a small buying balance, 5,100 shares. But if this thing can take out that 51.80, I think you got a lot of air below.
All right, let's see if we got any more questions here.
Well, I have one, Dennis. For the sale imbalances you gave earlier on the show, were those still mostly the same? Square.
A lot of changes. Yeah, Square is significant. And one thing, I always try to identify themes here this morning. One theme I'm seeing is the bank's fairly stronger. I am seeing chip stocks weak here this morning. Micron is trading down 35 cents in pre-market here. Applied Materials bucking the trend a little bit. It's trading up. But if I'm just looking, and maybe it's not even chip stock, it's almost as tech stocks too, because Square is not obviously a chip stock here, but Square has 145,000 shares to sell. That's significant. Texas Instruments is trading flat here. I'm just trying to bounce around a little bit and see if I see that overall theme. But overall here, I'm seeing some isolated weakness here in some tech stocks. So we'll say that. And that's a consideration if I'm trading this morning.
I just got to ask you one more thing.
INPX.
What about
stop.
Weight
INPX
Watchers?
is-
Weight Watchers getting the Oprah running for president.
Joel keeps interrupting me here, but we've got multiple coming out here from the blockchain filter. INPX here, and Pixion will leverage blockchain to build device reputation. INPX 22-cent stock is up at 60 cents here now. It's 187%. This just came up. This hot off the press, just came out a minute ago. And stock, boom, takes off, blasts off into orbit here. LBCC. So I've got 5 headlines come from my blockchain filter. LBCC here, it's got a headline, will not proceed with offering of stock because it fell below the stock offering price, so they couldn't raise the money. So I don't know if that's great news there. Also, UAMA is another one there, but that's a bulletin board stock, so it's not trading much. But INPX, if you want to trade one in the pre-market here, this one is flying. 773,000 shares have already traded. Most of this just in the last couple minutes.
All right, we'll do the Weight Watchers tomorrow. Spencer, you want to wrap up today's show and preview what's on Wednesday?
Sure. On the docket for tomorrow, we're joined by Jeremy Newsome. He's a trader from Nashville, I believe, right? Nashville's right. Okay, I got that one right. Thanks, Joel. So he's a good trader on the show. He'll be joining us tomorrow at 8:35. If you want to catch any part of our show again, you can catch the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, or just go to YouTube, youtube.com/BenzingaTV, where you can see the charts as well as hear the audio for the show. Thanks to everyone who joined us today. Thank you to our guest, Nick Chahine. Hope you all have a good rest of the day. We'll see you folks on Wednesday.